It's another week and it's another midweek message. Over the past couple weeks, we've been talking about relationships and this whole concept about what it means to have good relationships with people, and God involved, and just what does it mean to maintain good relationships. This week, in that maintaining good relationships, I want to talk about maintenance. I want to talk about the oil, the grease of relationships. I'm standing right now with electrical panels behind me. I think about electricity in a building. I think about plumbing. I think about piping, water, all the things that go into making a building work. And we have to maintain that. You got to be checking on the lines. You got to be making sure everything's working. There's also this piece to relationships that I think is very similar. And that is the concept of how are we loving? Now, I don't care if you're talking about spousal love, friendship love, coworker love, but this concept that we are choosing to care on someone else, to engage with them, to interact with them, this choosing of caring, I think is so important. And that concept of love is huge. So in 1 Corinthians 13, all right, we see this concept of love. Now, you've probably heard this before, but I don't want to look at this so much as the definition of love, as I want you to be thinking about what does this mean on a daily, ongoing basis in the relationships around you. So it says that love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Now, I've talked before plenty on love. I've talked, I think, even like at one point in one of my midweek messages about this verse. But here's what I want to get to. As we have relationships, as we keep moving forward, I think we need to be looking at how are we loving someone? How are we making sure that we're not keeping those records of wrongs, because we're working on apologies, we're working on forgiveness, we're working on reconciliation when someone wrongs us. We have to be thinking as love and a graceful attitude as that grace in relationships. I've talked about this before, but not in the context here in this series of saying that as relationships happen, it is so important for us to be thinking about how we are choosing to love. And are we making sure that our definition of love is accurate? See, what I'm finding a lot of times in relationships when there is rubs, the definition of how love looks might not be the same. There's the concept of the love languages, that physical touch or spending time with me or getting gifts, right? Or communication, that these are these things that are important. There's other concepts about people and their enneagrams and their personality types and what feeds them in and what stresses them out and how to build up. There's all these concepts of how someone best relates to others. But this is what I know. And this is where I want you to hear this very importantly, that if you are loving someone, I don't care who they are. If you're being patient with them, if you're being kind, if you're not being envious, and you're not boasting, and you're not proud, and you're not dishonoring, and you're not self-seeking, and you're not easily angered, it will always work. I don't care. You can pick any scenario, but when you're loving on someone with these characteristics, it will work. Now, you might be kind, but they're still frustrated with you. It might take a little work to get there, but if you keep pouring on kindness, you'll kill them with kindness. That's the whole, phrase that people use. The bottom line is this: when you're loving on people, it works every time. It doesn't matter who the human is. Every time. And just as this refrigerator just turned on, it will happen for you. When you start getting used to loving your neighbor, when you start getting used to having this concept of love, you're going to work like a well-oiled machine. You're going to get used to constantly being a loving person because you're going to constantly be having this flowing out of you. Now, you might ask the question, Scott, I don't feel that loving. I don't want to love certain people. I don't want to have this attitude some days, and I want it to be about me. What am I supposed to get out of this? Well, here's the deal. There's two things I want you to walk away with today when you're talking about conflict in relationships, especially about maintaining them. If you want to keep a relationship moving, you need to make sure that you're constantly loving, having that attitude, working on that attitude. The first way you get there is praying. Now you might be like, Scott, that's great. No, I'm not talking about a request to God to make you more loving. No, I'm asking for you to sit before the Lord, repent of the junk in your past, repent of the things that are holding you back, and be able to then turn and look forward to what it is that you need to be doing in whatever relationships you have. Ask God to show up for you. Ask Him to clear your eyes so you can see people the way He sees them. Ask Him to remind you. Have moments of thoughts of gratitude that you can sit there and see where God has been working in your life. Because the more attitude of gratitude you have, the easier it is for you to love others. It's easier for you to maintain relationships in a healthy way. By praying, repenting, and seeking, in that prayer time, you can make things start to happen. The second thing that I want you to realize in continuing to have and maintaining good relationships, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert. I just know that this things work in my life. And I have to work at these things too. The other thing is time. We cannot expect relationships to maintain without putting some effort and time into it. So if we're going to be praying and we're looking for our physical actions, we have to then invest time in it. Now you might be like, Scott, I'm too busy for people. Then invite them along. There is nothing wrong if you're going to a soccer game to invite a friend of yours to come watch and sit with you while your son or daughter plays in the soccer game. If you've got work to do in your yard, invite a friend over that hasn't been around you for a while to be in the work with you. I think sometimes we forget that people want to spend time with us. And if we're busy, we're about our God's kingdom, or about our Father's business, then sometimes we have to invite people along into those spaces with us. Maybe it's having someone over for dinner because that's the time that you got. Early morning breakfast, midday lunch. See, maintaining relationships mean that we invest in it, we spend time in it. And just like you have to invest in your vehicle to keep it running, you need to invest in relationships. And if you go after this concept of love as your main piece, if you have a graceful attitude and you're loving on others in these relationships, then as you keep moving, it will keep happening. And then all of a sudden, as new people hit your space, it's not that big of a deal. So remember, love is patient, love is kind, and it does not boast, it's not easily angered, doesn't keep records of wrong. Use that as the oil. Put that grease in there. Let grace work in your relationships. And if you keep working on this, you keep communicating this, you keep engaging with this, then you're going to see stuff start coming back in the relationships around you. You'll have less conflicts. Not that there won't be conflicts, but the level of them will be less, and it won't even feel like a conflict because you're having a discussion instead of a debate. When we're able to converse with people because we love each other, it doesn't become this jarring feeling anymore. It becomes this smoothness that happens. And two people that have opposite views on something can come together and have a conversation. See, church, as we start to pray into our spaces, as we start to look for God in our space, as we keep doing that, stuff starts to happen. So this week, as you pray, listen to the Lord as He speaks softly. Listen to what He's trying to tell you on the relationships you're in. Are you supposed to be mending fences? Are you supposed to be giving more in a space? Are you supposed to be asking more from someone else because you need more at this time? I hope this helps you. I hope in your relationships you can see more happening. I'm so thankful for you tuning in. Feel free to share this with your friends. Feel free to like it. Drop some comments. Send an email to sroth@llnc.org. Thankful for you. Keep at it. Enjoy life because God has made you awesome.